Yo, what it do, family? High value basketball. Best basketball commentary on this side of the whole entire planet. Back again, fam. We talking about the pressure, the NBA pressure that these players face every year to compete and to put their best effort on the floor, their best effort into their legacy, into their reputation, and doing it because the most important thing and the reason why they play and why we watch is not to collect stats, but to what? Win. So we're going to talk about it real quick. Some of the NBA stars are superstars who are under the most pressure for this upcoming 2023-2024 season, fam. And so let's just hop right into it, man. Let's go hit this big fish first. Anthony Davis, Mr. Street Clothes himself. Now, I agree with the article that was made by Clutch Points. If you check them out on Twitter, they got a very cool feed. They talk about a lot of relevant things. So definitely taking a highlight from their lineup of topics. Shout out to Clutch. But on this list, though, they have Anthony Davis, man, and they're perfectly right. Now, I'm gonna start by saying this. Anthony Davis has gotten a little bit of a bad rap for being quote unquote called street clothes. Cause Charles Barkley with the headlines, or the punchlines, he's a master at that. So we actually have run with it when actually he hasn't been that bad of a street clothes situation since coming to LA. If we really go back and look at the percentage of games played, he's actually in the top tier of percentage games played. There's another person on this list who's considered a superstar who's actually the real street clothes that we'll get into later. But anywho, the pressure though for AD, it comes from this amazing, ridiculous contract. That's where this comes from. He's number one coming with that, and there's also another player with a ridiculous contract we'll talk about too. But AD with this contract, man, he's gotta show up. Dude has the biggest extension as far as a year-to-year term in the history of the NBA. And this is actually the second time he's taken that crown. If we go back to his Pelicans days, he was a recipient of the same thing at that particular time. He had got the biggest extension in NBA history at that particular time. He was the first player to actually eclipse LeBron James. Wink, wink, eclipse LeBron James, and of course they end up becoming teammates. And he has eclipsed that mark once again. So he's got to show up being technically the highest paid or one of the highest paid players in the NBA. Coming from the era where I'm from, just it is what it is. When you were the highest paid player in the NBA, you were paid that because you were winning championships. And so, we got one in 4 years, 1 in 3 years, and then we got a Western Conference Finals run. So he's pseudo worth it, but I don't really think he's worth it because of, again, it's just, I don't think any of these players are worth these crazy amounts of money because I'm thinking about the cap. When you got one player taking up 30% of the cap, how are you going to really build out an effective, true, continual team? I don't really see how you could really do that because you're taking up all of the money. So where are you going to get a legitimate supporting cast from? So because you don't have a legitimate supporting cast, you now got to be a super duper mega star, and you going to have to show up in ways that are at the level of all-time greats. You got to show us some all-time great stuff, not just during the regular season, but in the playoffs, and do it when it matters most. If AD wants to avoid any extra critique that's probably going to come his way, especially when he's playing with LeBron James, because boy, they tried to fry and fricassee that man this past year, talking about, he didn't show up in the Western Conference Finals, he got cooked by Jokic. They just put everything on AD like it was his fault when he was the defensive anchor of not only the Lakers but of everybody in the entire playoffs. He was a defensive freaking wizard, and yeah, he was quote unquote off and on like they said he was. Hello, LeBron was too. He was on for 3/4 of every game and went into the fourth quarter and went back to Cleveland, LeBron, and tossed every single game that they had away. And it was his fault. But because he plays, but because he's LeBron and AD plays with him, he's going to be the person that catches most of the flack. So yeah, under pressure number one is Mr. Anthony Davis. I really do hope that he shows up. I really do hope that he actually takes over for this team with the kind of money that he's being paid. Jeez. I hope he actually takes over the Lakers, like undoubtedly takes over the Lakers. I want to see him carry LeBron, and not because I'm on some LeBron hate or anything like that. I actually want to see Anthony Davis be Anthony Davis the way that Anthony Davis was last season when LeBron went out, and he had to carry them for those 12, 15 games or however long that was. And he was out there being a beast, being a monster, being the Pelicans version of himself. I want to see that, because that's actually all-time great level play. That type of level of play puts him on a Tim Duncan kind of level with more flair. If he could have the consistency, he'd be on a similar kind of level. But because we know he's injury prone, he doesn't do it on a consistent basis, and he gets a little bit lax when his big brother LeBron is out there. So it tosses. So he doesn't go as hard. If we can get him to go as strong and as consistent with LeBron on the floor, he will remove the impending pressure of that contract that he received. And heck, he can put them right back in the Western Conference Finals again. Now, will it can they get to the chip? I don't know. Denver is a beast, but it would be interesting to see him try, and it would be something that would take the pressure off for sure. He'd actually be worth the money. So, shout out to Anthony Davis. Rise up to the pressure, my boy. High value basketball. Peace.